Lindsey Graham, in the wake of the Charlie Hebdo terrorist attack, is going to go on the radio and put the fear-mongering he does on steroids.
He called for a reform of Islam. Why can't our president and our leaders speak truth to this situation the way that the president of Egypt just did?
I think the president of the United States is undercutting the president of Egypt. We're in a religious war. These are not terrorists. They're radical Islamists who are trying to replace our way of life with their way of life. Their way of life is motivated by religious teachings that require me and you to be killed or enslaved or converted. The President of the United States tiptoes around the threats we face, and he is trying to diminish the religious aspect of this war. Why, I don't know. And he is not engaging the enemy in an aggressive fashion, which makes it more likely we'll get attacked. What he's doing is pretending to want to destroy ISIL.
Obama's pretending to want to destroy ISIL, which is why he's been bombing the holy hell out of them for months now. All the time, you'll see articles pop up that say, number 2 in command in ISIS killed, number 3 in command in ISIS killed. These guys, they have the same answer for everything. More war. And also, it's dangerous to talk about this issue as if it is a, quote, religious war, which is exactly what Lindsey Graham just said. Now, why is that sloppy and inaccurate and dangerous? Because, Lindsey, there are 1.6 billion Muslims in the world. When you say we are engaged in a, quote, religious war, what you're doing is you're putting all the moderate Muslims around the world in a defensive stance. You're making them go, whoa, wait, I didn't say I was with these ISIS people, but now you're lumping me in with these ISIS people? What are you talking about? That's crazy. What do you mean? And then they get defensive, rightfully so. I would get defensive in that situation. But that's the problem with today's insane Republicans. They're so far right that they've dropped all connection to the real world and they just talk like cowboys in a John Wayne movie in the 1950s. You know how all those guys are the enemy. That's just how the savages are. It's not a religious war. I have nothing against a grandma in Indonesia who's a Muslim. I have nothing against Reza Aslan, who's a Muslim. I have nothing against any of the moderate Muslims around the world. And understand something. This is not to say that we should excuse the acts of ISIS and al-qaeda and fundamentalist Muslims. Of course not. We should be harsh on their ideas and be harsh on them. But you can't just have this broad net that you throw over the entire Muslim community. Because that's like them saying to us, well, I guess all the Christians are with the KKK. The KKK says they're a Christian organization. I guess every Christian is a member of that organization. I guess every Christian agrees with the Phineas movement shooter who went on a killing spree in Dallas recently. Hey, if you're a Christian, I guess you agree with those people. I guess if you're a Christian, you agree with the sovereign citizens who've been doing endless terrorist attacks in America. I guess you agree with abortion clinic bombers if you're a Christian. No, you have to distinguish. And here's the key point. His answer is more war. Like, he looks at the situation that happened in France and he says, oh, great, a justification to do more war. And he also said Obama's not engaging the enemy. I don't know what the fuck else you want him to do. We are engaged in a war right now in Syria, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and we're doing drone strikes in Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia. That's 6 different places. What do you want to do? Do you want to add another country in there? I mean, do you think that's going to make the situation better? Do you want to go after Saudi Arabia? Oh no, then he jam on the brakes. No, not Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is our buddy. That's who we get our oil from. So they're allowed to behead people and literally cut people's hands off and literally not allow women to drive, and that's okay because they're our buddies. So it's really not about the danger of fundamentalist Islam, because if it was, then he would be calling for some sort of move on Saudi Arabia, but he's not doing that. But see, this is the issue. We are making it worse. Now, nobody's taking away, I'm certainly not taking away the responsibility from individual Muslims to self-govern and understand that you should reject. The buck stops with you. You should reject the most radical forms of Islam. Absolutely. Everybody should reject the most radical forms of everything. So it is the individual's responsibility when push comes to shove at the end of the day. But at the same time, you have to accept and realize the sociological research which has been done on this, which showed that since the U.S. started the war on terror, there has been an increase in terror groups and terrorists. That's not an accident, and that's not a coincidence. Because we went in there John Wayne style, guns out, blazing everybody, what happened? People who were otherwise moderate said, you know what? These sons of bitches did a drone strike and killed my aunt and my uncle and my cousin. Now I'm going to go join al-Qaeda. I'm going to go join Hezbollah. I'm going to go join Boko Haram. I'm going to go join al-Shabaab. I'm going to go join ISIS. I'm going to go join the Taliban, and the list goes on and on. There weren't as many jihadist groups in the year 1998. There weren't. Now there's way more, and now there's way more terrorists because you killed so many civilians in Iraq and Afghanistan that you made people go, well, fuck this. Get the great Satan, get the infidel off our land. We didn't care about them before, but now they're on our land. Get the fuck out of here. So both things need to be understood. You need to understand that, yes, from an individual case-by-case basis, every individual should say, I reject radicalization. That has to be, where you draw the line. But at the same time, you also should recognize that you're not helping Lindsey Graham. You're contributing to the problem because your policy solutions actually make the policy worse. It's just like the drug war, how we spent over $1 trillion trying to stop little Timmy from smoking a joint. And what happened? Little Timmy is still smoking joints, but it's also little Timmy and little Bobby now. More people are doing drugs now than before we started the war on drugs. And also, over 60,000 people died on the Mexican border in a literal drug war. So you spent $1 trillion and you made it worse. It's like the war on terror. You spent $7 trillion and then some when all is said and done by the year 2050, and you're making it worse. And what's Lindsey Graham's solution? Do the same thing. And then it's going to go round and round again. There will be more attacks. Lindsey Graham will want to retaliate, and then there's going to be more attacks, and then Lindsey Graham will want to retaliate again, and then he will only dig us deeper into the problem and not move us towards a solution.